Hey, what is up, everybody?
Welcome back to Mile Higher Podcast, episode 103. Today we are back with a true crime case, and we are talking about the case of Jody LeCornu. And we actually have her sister here with us today in the studio. She will be joining us in a little bit. Jenny Carrieri. We are super happy to have her here to tell her sister's story.
Definitely.
It's just maddening, very frustrating. You guys are going to be blown away by what they have been through. Absolutely.
We also have some news stories. One that we talked about a few weeks ago, actually, with Sarah Turney, the Vallow case.
Yes.
JJ Vallow and Tylee Ryan. There's some updates to that, which we want to talk to you guys about, as well as a few other things. But before we get into that, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Purple, Third Love, and Clean Colt, for supporting the Mile Higher Podcast. We appreciate it. But without further ado, let's jump into the first story we've got here. So since we've talked about the Vallow case a couple weeks ago, there's been some more progress, I guess, in it. Some updates have come out. So Lori was actually the mother of JJ Vallow and Tylee Ryan, who of course have been missing since September. And she was actually recently arrested in Hawaii.
Which a lot of people are surprised it took so long to arrest her, considering the kids have been missing and it's basically neglect. You know, she just says she doesn't know where they are.
Right. Well, she won't even really talk about it at all.
She just won't. I guess she doesn't say she doesn't know where they are. She just won't speak about it at all. She's been extremely difficult, and I'm surprised it has taken so long. But, you know, there's so many hoops they have to jump through and everything.
Right. Well, they've got to get an arrest warrant put together. So that's what they've been doing in Idaho. They've been working on the case and bringing charges against Lori, and that's exactly what they did. So they put out an arrest warrant in this past Thursday, February 20th. She was arrested in Kauai, Hawaii, and held on a $5 million bail.
Damn.
Which is really serious. Like, most of the times when you're held on that large of a bail, it's because of, you know, it's a really serious crime, which, right, as far as we know right now, this is a very serious crime. And so she actually was in court a few days later, where she's being, you know, they're telling her that she's going to be extradited back to Idaho because that's where the actual case is. And when she was in court, it was interesting to see her just look completely emotionless.
Yeah.
And like, she honestly doesn't give a shit at all about what's going on. She just was standing there looking annoyed. Chad's in there too.
I think it's because they think the world is ending soon. These two believe they're doomsday theorists, you know. They think that the world's going to end in like June or May or something. Yeah. So they're not taking anything seriously.
No. Well, it's hard to really believe that they believe that, though. That's the hardest thing about that.
Plenty of people believe that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I know. But I'm just saying, from like first glance at looking at them, you wouldn't suspect that these two, they look like a very normal looking couple.
They look like that, but their actions show that they clearly believe that.
Because Chad is this doomsday author.
Yeah.
Which Chad, again, I wanted to reiterate, because I think I wasn't very clear about this in the last episode when we talked about this. Chad is he says he's a part of the LDS church, but again, the LDS church has nothing to do with Chad or his beliefs or anything like that. Yeah. And so this is a very radical point of view that he has, that the world's going to end in July. So, you know, we bounced around theories and things like that as to maybe what could have happened to them. Maybe they're still being held somewhere, which I'm holding out hope that they are alive. And I don't know, it just doesn't seem like, you know, when she went to court, it didn't seem like she was that worried about the charges that were brought against her. Because she's facing felony child abandonment, which is a serious charge among others, misdemeanors that she's being charged with. And she faces serious jail time if convicted. So it's interesting because clearly they have money, those two, Chad and Lori. So she's able to hire a good legal team and everything, but she just doesn't seem that concerned about what she's about to face. You know, it's almost like maybe she knows, maybe they are still out there, or maybe she's just cold-hearted and, you know, just doesn't care.
Or like I said, thinks the world is ending. So who cares about punishment? Who cares about jail? If you really believe that the world's months away from ending, maybe you'd act a little differently, a little more careless, you know?
Right. Yeah, that's totally true.
It's really hard to get a read on these people because they've been so private as far as, you know,
they've kept their mouth shut about what's going on, or their comments on things. But the police have been digging into this a little bit more since we last talked about it. And Apparently, according to financial records, it shows she hasn't paid any money in childcare since the children disappeared in September. And obviously, we talked about JJ has autism, and his medication has gone unfilled since then, which is very concerning, which does kind of tell you a lot, unless they have some stash of it somewhere that he's not, in a good place, that's for sure, if he's not getting his medication.
Yeah, I guess either way. But you could definitely see it as they just chose not to give it to him anymore.
Right.
Because
there's no point.
Right. Mm-hmm. Or they're just anti everything mainstream.
Right.
And,
true.
It could be anti-prescription too.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I don't know. It's weird. I guess it's kind of wishful thinking to hope they're off somewhere in a bunker. But I do think it's possible. I wouldn't give up on that theory.
Yeah, I mean,
with how heartless they seem, it definitely makes you wonder. And especially when you see all the other strange deaths. If you haven't listened to the episode, you should definitely go back and listen to it because it's bizarre. The whole family dynamic is weird. Really it goes complex. Really far back.
Yeah, spouses with mysterious deaths that the police are looking into now. It seems like this story goes a lot deeper than we even know right now, and things are starting to slowly leak out. Like the police, they did a search of their residence in Hawaii, and they actually found Tylee's cell phone during the search. And when they looked at the device, it showed that it was used several times after Tylee first disappeared, which is interesting. Oh. And there was an October text reading, "quote unquote, hi, miss you guys too, love ya." And this was sent to a concerned friend, but this was after she went missing.
Well, I mean, it's possible someone's texting for her, of course, but that's interesting. Mm-hmm. Maybe they really are holding them somewhere.
Mm-hmm. And then the other thing that came out was doorbell camera footage that was released showing JJ and another kid back on September 17th. It was like a Ring doorbell video. It's like the last known video that we have of JJ before he went missing. But that's really all that's come out since then. So this is still evolving as we speak. Clearly the police are still investigating it, and Lori's due back in court in March. And yeah, it seems like this is going to continue forward, and I don't know. I just hope that the police can get to the bottom of what happened to them and where are they.
Yeah, let's hope this one doesn't remain unsolved. I have a feeling eventually we're going to find out what happened.
Yeah, I really hope so. I really hope that we figure this out, because it's devastating. It's absolutely devastating. But the next story we wanted to mention and this just happened today, and that's Harvey Weinstein was found guilty.
Hallelujah.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, I think everybody knows who Harvey Weinstein is. And a jury convicted him of felony sex crime and rape, but then acquitted him of the most serious charges against him, which is predatory sexual assault, which is interesting and not good.
Because he could get a much reduced time, huh?
Oh, yeah. Well, he could, at a minimum, face 5 years in prison, I think, and it goes up to 25 or so.
Yeah, minimum 5. That would be really hard to see, only 5 years. I mean, let's hope he gets at least 20, 25. It should be longer than that.
I mean, hopefully monster. They give him the max for at least the charges he was convicted on.
Well, the judge knows there's a lot of pressure on him to do that, too.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that just happened. And then
hours ago. So we'll update you guys with more information once it comes out.
Absolutely. But then the last little story that I have for you is just an interesting thing that kind of gone viral. It's really cool. But apparently there is a pink manta ray that is living in the Great Barrier Reef area. And recently an underwater photographer captured some rare images of it. And these images went really viral because it's really cool. It's a pink manta ray.
It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Pepto Pink.
Yep. And they've named her named him or her Inspector Clouseau.
Inspector Clouseau.
From the Pink Panther films.
Oh, cute.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
So, yeah, it's just a really cool picture. There's a couple pictures of it. It's beautiful to look at.
It's always interesting when you see animals that are like random colors from what they're supposed to be. Like, have you ever seen blue lobsters?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're really rare, but they can come in like this cobalt blue. It's so cool.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting how that happens, and like scientists don't even really mistake. Yeah, they don't understand how it happens. Is it like a skin infection or something, or if it's just the like a unique expression of the skin's melanin? So it's just pretty cool.
Special ray.
It is a special ray.
It's so cute. I love it so much.
But yeah, let's go ahead and get into the case.
Yes.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
So if you have boobs and you have not tried Third Love, I don't know what you are doing, my friend. Third Love does bras differently. They believe that every woman deserves to feel comfortable and confident every day. And with the right kind of support, they can help you do this. Their bras are designed to fit you, not the other way around. They're designed with measurements from millions of other women, and their bra styles are made to fit your life. They have over 80 bra sizes, but they know that only one matters to you, and that is yours. So that's where their Fit Finder quiz comes in handy. It's a really short quiz, just a couple of questions, but it can help you identify your bra size online. And I 100% am serious that I only will wear Third Love bras. It's the only bras I own. Over 15 million women have taken the quiz to date. It's actually fun and takes less than a minute to complete. Every customer has 60 days to wear that bra, try it out, wash it, put it to the test. And if you don't love it, you can return it and Third Love will wash it and donate it to a woman in need. Third Love knows there's a perfect bra for everyone. So right now they're offering our listeners 15% off their first order. Just go to thirdlove.com/milehigher now to find your perfect fitting bra and get that 15% off your first purchase. That's thirdlove.com/milehigher for 15% off today.
I don't know about you, but I love to sleep, man. I never get enough sleep. And you know what makes my sleep so much better? Purple. I got one of the new Purple Harmony pillows. Ever since I got this pillow, guys, no joke, had some of the best sleep of my life. This thing is amazing. And not only do they make the world's greatest pillows, they also make some of the world's greatest mattresses. What's cool about Purple is they were founded by two brothers who have been developing cushioning technology for 30 years on things like medical beds and wheelchairs. And in 2016, they finally decided to use their patented comfort technology to create Purple, the world's most scientific mattress. The Purple material feels very unique because it's both firm and soft at the same time, so it keeps everything supported while still feeling really comfortable. Plus, it's breathable, so it sleeps cool. Purple is just an all-around cool company. They give you a 100-night risk-free trial with your mattress, and if you're not fully satisfied, you can return your mattress for a full refund. It's also backed by a 10-year warranty, free shipping and returns, and free in-home setup and old mattress removal. And because of all this, I know you're going to love Purple. And right now, our listeners will get a free Purple pillow with the purchase of a mattress. Just text Mile Higher to 84-888. The only way to get this free pillow is to text Mile Higher to 84-888. That's MILEHIGHER to 84888. Message and data rates may apply.
Now, if you guys have been listening to our podcast for a while, you've probably heard us talk about the dangers of cleaning products and what is in them. With chemical formulas and plastic bottles, they're terrible for the environment and terrible for you. So we have been recently introduced to Clean Cult. They make natural cleaners that actually clean with ingredients that you can actually understand, with packaging that's actually landfill free. Instead of wondering what's in your cleaning products, with Clean Cult, your kids and pets are safe because they have non-toxic coconut-based formulas. Clean Cult is as effective as the leading brands of detergents, so you get the same level of clean without any of the chemicals. So go to cleancult.com to get a customized starter kit and an adjustable paper-based refill delivery service that fits the needs of your home and lifestyle, so you can go zero waste. Clean Cult is the only company to put soap in milk cartons. They have sleek, shatter-resistant evergreen glass bottles to reduce plastic waste that look gorgeous on a countertop. And Clean Cult's sustainable shipping system actually allows for them to be carbon neutral, which is really cool. So get started with Clean Cult right now. Go to cleancult.com/milehigher for 25% off your first kit, but only until May 13th. That's 25% off now through May 13th at cleancult.com/milehigher, cleancult.com/milehigher. Okay, welcome back. So today we are going to be talking about a case, like I said, that's extremely frustrating. There is quite a bit of information here, but a lot of things that weren't followed up on. And it's definitely going to leave you guys feeling really confused and frustrated. And today we have Jenny with us, who is Jody's twin sister. They're identical twins. And so this has just been devastating for her in her life. But she's made it her life mission to fight for Jody, to fight for answers, and to get justice in this entire situation. So thank you so much, Jenny, for joining us today.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, thank you, guys.
We're so lucky to have
great.
you.
Oh my gosh, I'm just so happy to be here.
All the way from Baltimore.
Yes.
I know. Oh my gosh, I couldn't wait. And when you invited me, I was like, I will be there. Can I come now?
Yeah, I know. I'm so glad you came.
I was like, I can't wait that long.
You're, I think, the furthest that has traveled to come on the show.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So we really appreciate it.
Yeah,
oh my God.
we really appreciate it.
you.
And we know traveling gives you anxiety, and the flight was stressful.
Scares me to death. I know.
Yeah, by yourself. I'm just really proud of you. It's good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's always
wonderful.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. And just, I wanted to say that I feel like it's always best to have the family of the victim, or, whoever it is that's closest to the victim on, because we can only do so much. Obviously, we try to raise awareness when we talk about cases on our own, but when we have somebody like you that's out there, day in, day out fighting for justice and, doing as much as you are, it's just so valuable to everybody involved to have you here. And I just want to say great job to everything you've been doing. It's really amazing.
I think it really helps people to understand the story a bit more, hearing it directly from a family member.
Right. Exactly.
Well, I'm just grateful. When you reached out to me, I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she reached out to me. I was just so excited. So yeah,
of course.
I'm really happy to be here. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, I guess I like to start with Jody and just, what was life like with her and growing up, any great memories that you had with her, just whatever you feel like you want to share, and just give our audience an idea of who she was as a person.
Well, I like to think my dad always referred to her as a sunbeam. I mean, she just, and
cute.
She just was bright and outgoing and kind, and just had a really good heart. Very just, treated everybody the same. And it was just wonderful having your buddy, your companion, your best friend around all the time. I mean, from day one, my parents dressed us alike, and we always had the same room, and just same classes, same friends. I was telling Kendall earlier, I felt as we were one, because people refer to us as the twins.
Sure.
Sometimes we weren't even, Jody or Jenny. It was the twins are coming over. And
so you felt like a unit.
Yeah,
a
like
complete
that.
unit from day one, pretty much. So you were like best friends with each other. You guys told each other everything.
Yes.
Did you spend like all of your time together?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, 99.9%. I mean, growing up, all the time.
And if you're listening, they look so much alike. I mean, we were earlier trying to kind of play a game. I was trying to guess which one was which, and I couldn't. For all of them, I kept getting them wrong.
Wow, yeah.
Crazy.
It's crazy. This is Jenny. This is Jody.
Okay.
Yeah. And some of the pictures when we're younger, I cannot tell us apart at all.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's really
you
hard.
guys look
to
so
tell us.
similar.
Yeah.
Who's the older one?
She was 2 minutes older.
Okay.
The older, my big older sister.
Yeah. That's cool.
So,
and you guys had that, twin connection where you've told me you felt like you finished each other's sentences and knew what each other was thinking. You're just on the same wavelength with each other.
Definitely.
That's very interesting. And, you hear that a lot, but I always wonder, I've never talked to really a twin and how like deeply connected you feel with that. Like I have a brother and he's a couple years younger than me. And I feel like oftentimes growing up that we, people thought we were twins sometimes and stuff like that. But I always wondered what it would be like if we were born, within minutes of each other, if there would be just this deeper bond that's there, or you feel like you said, we're together as one, we're kind of one and the same being.
Yes. Oh, definitely. And I think about it a lot now, because I feel this sense of loneliness.
Sure.
Because I don't have her, I don't have anybody close. I mean, she was the closest to me ever. And I feel it's just not having that all these years is really hard when you've grown up with, we were always, like I said, with each other. So,
yeah.
It's like no one can replace that bond. It's not something a friend can fill or a husband. It's something, only a twin sister could fill.
It's like I can be just around people and still just feel alone. And but it's not having her there,
Totally.
So did you guys growing up, did you guys participate in extracurricular activities together, or what'd you guys like to do for fun?
So when we were young, my parents had us in little gymnastics, and I mean, I remember looking at pictures of us dressed in our leotard, same color leotard, same color tights, same cut, everything.
Tutus.
Yeah. And soccer. And I mean, everything was always, we looked the exact same, brownies, all that stuff little girls are in. And then they had us on, my dad, we grew up in Annapolis, but we got stationed at the Naval Academy when we were really little. And so they started us on the Navy swim team. And so we were swimmers for a long time, but I grew to hate swimming.
Yeah, you kind of do.
Yeah, we do. I was like, I hate pools now. I mean, I guess unless it's like 120 degrees or something, but it was a hot tub. Yeah, a hot tub. If it was all year round.
Yeah.
And we grew to hate it, but we didn't want to tell our parents. And they had us play piano, and we were so embarrassed because we wanted to be cool, and we thought playing the piano was not cool. So we would have to, when we were just started middle school, we'd have to walk after school to go play piano, and we would like duck and hide going in because we knew everybody knew this lady like taught piano, and we thought that was so embarrassing. So, but I'm very grateful now because now I know like some of the notes, I can play a little bit on a piano, kind of know it a little bit. But so we started off with good intention. We started off good, but then we got into not so good extracurricular activities. So yeah, unfortunately, we both kind of went down a path. I was telling Kendall how we grew up, starting with putting my father in a treatment program. My dad was an alcoholic. And so we started in 6th grade. We had a family intervention and put him in a rehab, and he was sober for a while, and then started drinking again. And then Jody and I started drinking at a very early age and went down his path. So we that was unfortunately our desire for life was partying. I mean, at that time, partying and drinking and.
Well, you're impressionable at that age too, and watching a parent go through, go through that struggle, and if it's around, you become familiar with it, and and I can only imagine how, if you had access to it, at that age, you're curious, you want to, try things. And
well, it's like you saw your dad in pain and using it as something to cope with his pain. And the thing with their relationship with their dad is, they really love their dad, which I totally understand what it's like to love someone who has an addiction or a problem. I've personally experienced that. And that can be really painful. I think that was really stressful on you guys to see him going through that.
I mean, he was he just the most amazing, kind person. I mean, and just to see him, but he would come home every day from work and just go to his room and start drinking. I mean, so he wasn't
terribly sad.
He wasn't mean or, you hear about some people that are nice, and I mean, he just closed himself off from all of us, from my mother, from us.
Why do you think he went that way?
I don't know.
Just his job and life.
I mean, he was an only child, and his mother had a lot of pressure on him, his parents. And I mean, in fact, after the Naval Academy, he did graduate school and then went to law school. So you can see how he wanted a lot of more out of Jody and I. And when he went to law school, his mother went to law school just to help him. Like, I mean, and I don't know how old she was at the time, but he was in his maybe, I don't know, upper 20s, or I don't know how old he was when he went. But she was just so, I mean, he ran away when he was in high school, and he was so smart. Like, he got into, some of those Ivy League schools, but he got into the Naval Academy, and my mother says he rebelled. Like, his parents did not want him to go into the military or to the Naval Academy, because they were worried about his being in the military. And he just was constantly rebelling, like went to the academy just to kind of, he just always
go against what they want.
But
but that's a good school though. That's still a really good school.
Definitely. So there was a lot of pressure, and my mom, we talk about it. I mean, addiction is so confusing. I mean, it's
multi-layered.
There's a mixture of like genetics, but I don't think either one of his parents were. But I think the fact that there was so much pressure on him, and it's interesting because my mom's always talking about it, and then turned around, and so I have two older sisters that are 7 and 9 years older. So he put a lot of pressure on my oldest sister, and she was the one, like I say, Jody and I were in rehab and she was doing her PhD in Oxford, like truly, like she was like the smart one, but he put a lot of pressure on her, big time. And finally she like came to my mom and she's like, this is when she was younger. And she's like, you need to tell him to back off of me. Like she couldn't take it anymore. And so then he just, at that point, he just kind of gave up. Like he just, no more pressure. Like, I mean, he wanted us all to do well, but I think that, and then with him drinking, and then he got into Vallow, he took pills. And
so he was like escape from.
Oh yeah. So but I think definitely with addiction, like with Jody and I was sharing with Kendall how we were sexually abused as children. And I think, you know, there's so many different, I think there's addiction in my family and there's that. And I mean, I just think that, like you said, that different layers
kind of all piled together
and that was, I mean, I never felt like other people growing up. I mean, just felt different.
Very chaotic childhood.
Yeah. And I felt, you know, constantly when are we going to drink? When are we going to do something? When are we going to party? Whenever, you know, that was sort of all. And I mean, I was saying earlier, not that Jody and I we didn't talk about like that, but I'm sure she felt the same way because we were, you know, like we were just constantly always doing something, and it just progressed so quickly with us just downhill.
So the first time you guys drank, you drank together. You skipped school and spent the day.
School, and drank my dad's vodka and smoked
like 12 years old.
Filters. Yeah, wow. Yeah.
That's crazy. So then that obviously just spiraled after the years.
Yeah, definitely. And my, you know, my mom and my two older sisters were, I mean, my middle older sister wasn't really fond of us because she was the middle child. And, you know, my mother's trying to take care of 4 children and not much help from my dad. But so she had these twins. So it was really hard. So I think my middle sister felt left out. So she always kind of felt resentful towards Jody and I. So there was always a weird, not good relationship with her and my mom.
Okay.
Sadly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So there's definitely some rifts in the family between siblings
my middle
and
sister. And
your mom and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, because my mom, now that I'm a mother, I see, you know, we do the best we can. I mean, I feel, I'm constantly feeling like a failure as a parent. You know, I always say like the best thing I can do is tell my children I love them. I mean, I love them more than anything, but I don't know that I'm always doing everything right, you know?
Right.
So, and I look at my mom and I think, you know, she did that. Her mom died when she was a little girl. She actually saw her mother die. They were in a car accident. Her dad was driving. So, you know, she didn't have a mother.
Issues.
Yeah, she didn't have a mother. And, you know, having an alcoholic husband and then trying to raise 4 children. I feel like she did pretty good. Like, I mean, I have nothing but like great things about my parents, but it was definitely, I think just a lot of dysfunction growing up with my father and then Jody and I. And
which is interesting how that kind of can determine your path to some extent, you know, and kind of the direction you end up going. So I think everybody can kind of relate to that. You know, we all have our struggles, especially in those teen years, and you know, so much happens and so much changes, and you know, family members and turmoil with that can definitely lead you down different roads.
Can you explain how you guys got into the straight program?
So with our drinking and we got into drugs and it just progressed, and my parents were trying everything they could to try to save us and you know, my dad was a state's attorney. He's prosecuting drug and violent crime.
Wow.
And and after he got out of the Marines, so they were taking us to psychiatry. That we started off with a psychiatrist, and then they would put us in little programs through the state's attorney's office, you know, and you know, we would meet more. We call them druggy friends.
Yeah.
we meet the other delinquents, and then we'd find more friends. So it wasn't very effective.
Right. Yeah. Kind of like scary straight type of thing. Yeah.
That's what it was called.
Then we got put
program.
in the so
you
we
got
just
put in.
We got just by the end of our high school, we just went downhill quick, and my parents ended up putting us in the treatment program called Straight. It was a 2-year program, and they didn't tell us where they were taking us. And so it was 3 weeks before graduation of high school. We got thrown in there, and that was the first time we were separated. So ever.
Okay. So that was
separated
completely.
For months.
Yeah.
Must have just been devastating for you guys.
We weren't allowed to talk to each other. I mean, I would get a glimpse. It was a very strict place. I would try to look at her. You're in these groups all day. It was very.
I really don't get that. I mean, why would you separate someone from their twin sister?
Yeah.
Like, you need each other for support. That whole process would have been so much easier if you guys had each other to support you through it.
It was.
It's like, it seems like there was some really backwards approach to, the anti-drug stuff around this time.
Yeah, it was definitely. I this was in 1990, so I haven't seen anything
just like extreme.
Yeah, very extreme. I mean, really, I was terrified. I was in there for 9 months.
It's like a boarding school type vibe almost, but worse.
I mean,
who ran this? Was this a religious organization, or was it a
religious organization? But it was called Straight, and I think there was other ones in Springfield, Virginia, and eventually at least this one got shut down. But it was really bizarre. I mean, I felt brainwashed. They would say, like, you're going to die if you leave here, because it's a 2-year program, some people were there 2 years.
Damn, that's a long time.
So it's a scared straight approach, put the fear into you.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. I mean, you get a lot when you get put away like that. There's a lot of time to think and
I can imagine.
And you just feel this guilt for what you put your parents through. And my parents had to come up, because it was a family treatment program, so they'd have to come up on Friday nights and do their therapy, and they hated it. And we both ran away at different times and got brought back, or I got brought back. But then when we were 18, Jody, that's how she ended up in Baltimore, is she ran away, and then she moved in with her boyfriend, who she was with when she died.
His name's Steve, right? Okay. So were you dating anybody at the time too, or?
So when my parents, I say they kidnapped me out of there, because there was like no way out. Like, it was like this crazy way they had to get me out of there. And so I was sharing earlier about how I was dating, or I liked one of the staff members in the rehab. So we started dating after, because everything looks good in there. And when you're looking at four gray walls. And but my parents thought he was a drug dealer. So they kidnapped me from
They thought he was a drug dealer working
because he was a courier when and
maybe he was.
I know. He had been I think he was a heroin addict, or I don't know. And so they were horrified. And so, but I was so messed up, but I never made good choices. I was always with these losers. And so they literally, my mom was going out to Wyoming, where her family had retired, and her brother was dying. And so my dad and I were taking her to the airport, and they had my bag packed, and they're like, "You're going, not her." So, actually, I'm going with her. So we were talking about this the other night, because she's like, "I didn't go. You went." I was like, "No, I think we both went." So we were trying to remember, but they put me on a dude ranch, which was the greatest thing in my life.
Yeah, that's kind of healing, and probably especially after getting out of the rehab center.
Yeah, the best thing in my life. So Jody was in Baltimore. She had started drinking again, and then I had stayed sober.
Gotcha.
So we were still
took
separated.
Such different roads at that point. Wow.
What were you thinking about at this time about Jody and what direction she was going?
I was worried about her, and I knew that if I came back, that I would probably drink, and so drink again. And I felt I didn't know that I didn't know really anything other than at that time I didn't want to start drinking and using, but I didn't think I was an alcoholic. I didn't think, you know what I mean? I was like, I'm young, but I just wanted to just stay clean. And I was afraid if I came back that I wouldn't, if I came back to live. So I wanted to give myself more time. So I talked to my parents, and after that, for me going to California for a period, just to kind of keep trying to get it together. And then it just ended up being a hell for a bunch of years out there, in my own personal time out there. But I got engaged out there, and that's what kept me out longer.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So she ended up staying in Baltimore, and her boyfriend was a lot older, 14 years older than her. And they
big age difference.
They both had severe drinking issues, and that was her drug of choice. And she struggled a lot with it. Wow. Still.
Gotcha.
So that was their thing in common. And they, and she tried. tried to clean, she had been in
like she had the desire to clean it, and she just,
I mean,
it was a struggle.
It was just so sad to see her just struggle so much. I mean, and she was so anxious. I mean, I remember I would come home. I was very irresponsible. We would just rack up these, the landline phone just because we were always talking, and I would just, no problem, like buying a plane ticket and flying home to come see her. And I remember one time seeing little bottles in her purse of alcohol, she was just drinking all the time. And she was just so anxious. And it was this vicious cycle. I think it was just this, because the alcohol just makes you more anxious,
Totally.
And so it's like this, she's drinking to calm her nerves, and it's just like nothing's getting better. And
it becomes like all she knows too. Like that state of consciousness becomes all she knows, and a comfort zone for her.
Yeah, feel normal.
It was just horrible. I mean, I tried, but it's just to see somebody, and I've seen many, people that just struggle, and you feel like you can't.
There's nothing you can do. Yeah. That's really hard. So around the time of, 1996, you were still in California at the time. And what was your relationship like with her then? Were you guys talking pretty regularly?
Definitely.
Would she fill you in, like what's going on at work, or like what's going on with her boyfriend or anything like that?
Yeah. And I mean, she was, at this point, she was working at a bank, and she was about to finish up her classes at Towson. She, and she and her boyfriend, I mean, they kind of just existed. They were just drinking daily. And I mean, like I said, she had been in 1 or 2 detoxes. She tried to stop. And, it was just this sad thing. I mean, I came home, one of the times I came home, and we had gone out, and her boyfriend had, somehow she and I went to the bar. I went to the bar with her, and I wasn't drinking, but her boyfriend showed up, and then we walked back out to go to his car, and he couldn't even find his car. Because I mean, it was, that's how, it was just, so it was really.
It was like constant then. It was like all day, all night type of thing. Go to bed drunk, wake up and get drunk.
But then when she was working at the bank, I mean, she was waitressing for a long time. So she got away, but not at the bank.
Right.
I don't think, I don't think
kind
so.
of different environment.
Yeah.
Did she have a fairly large friend group, or did she keep it pretty close?
She had, I mean, everybody loved her. I mean, even older people, younger people. I mean, she worked at these several little local restaurants, and all the older ladies, and she had regular customers. And I mean, but she had a good group of friends. I mean, some that I didn't know that well, some that she would go out with at the bars, some that we remained in touch with since high school that kind of had lived in the area. But mainly it was the two of them, her and Steve.
Okay.
And he was a teacher. And
he was a teacher.
Yeah.
Like high school. Interesting.
Yeah. Yep.
What were your opinions on him, as a type of person that he was? Was he a good person? He just had a problem, or was he?
You've talked to him recently, right?
Yes. I mean, always seemed like he took good care of her. It seemed sometimes maybe she didn't want to irritate him, or you know what I mean? Sometimes she was
so much younger too. Maybe she didn't want to feel in the way.
Kind of putting up with him, and
almost she didn't want to set any make any waves or anything like that. Just really, he was good to her. It was interesting because he'd buy her these really nice gifts, and I thought, gosh, for a teacher, where's he get this money? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that was always something that his dad was a bookie, and so that I was like, well, maybe
he's involved with that. And
I didn't know, but that was always something that I thought was interesting.
So he wasn't involved in any other type of illegal activity or anything?
No, I mean, nothing that I knew of. I mean, he definitely was, they just had their own, it's almost they were this little married couple. They just like sort of spent all this time together and kind of enmeshed. Is that the right word? Enmeshed together. Enmeshed. Yeah. And I hadn't talked. So when she died, he came and stayed at my parents' house for a couple of weeks and just was on this drinking thing. And I was there, and he was very attached to me in a weird way, you know. And then for some reason we didn't talk to him for years and years and years. It just kind of like separated.
Yeah, I can imagine it was probably really hard.
Yeah, yeah. And then he got married and had kids, and it was just a weird thing.
Totally.
So let's go to, I think we should start with February 29th, 1996.
Yeah.
Was apparently they had some sort of fight, Steve and her, that created some turmoil in the relationship. I don't know how much you know about what happened with that, but was there anything significant that you know of that was a result of that?
Yeah. So he was upset that she liked to go to this bar, the Mount Washington Tavern, and he had gone to a class or something that night, and she was at the bar, and she called him from the payphone, I guess, after he was home, and he was very upset that she was at the bar.
Gotcha.
I don't know if there was some understanding she wasn't supposed to go, but he didn't like her hanging out there. And apparently I think she had put together time not drinking. So I don't know if it was a combination, but I know the main thing was he didn't want her at this bar.
Okay.
And so that's what upset him. So that Friday morning.
Gotcha.
And then again, I don't know if I'm being told everything. This is just what I hear.
Yeah, exactly.
So that Friday morning, March 1st, he was going to work, and they were both going to work, and he told her not to come home, that maybe she should go to her parents for the weekend.
Okay.
Which was about 45 minutes away.
So he was upset, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And you think she would have been upset as a result of that?
I think so. Yeah. And I mean, I didn't talk to her. I didn't talk to her that day. I mean, she was at work, and
how often were you guys talking at this time?
I mean, we talked, almost daily. I mean, if there could have been, I'm sure there's days that but I mean, as much as we could.
Okay. So it's unusual that you didn't talk that day.
Yeah.
Weird.
And it's weird. Like I would look back over time, like, when did we, like, what was our last conversation? You know, it's like you just go blank, forgetting everything.
Yeah. So it's like you don't know you have to remember those things or take that it's so monumental, those conversations until they're gone.
Yep. So so she went to work and he went to work, and I was telling Kendall earlier that everything out of that night was out of character for her. I mean, she would have figured out a place to go. She would have, with her friends.
Right. Because she goes to the tavern, right?
Yeah, and that's where she ended up going that night after work.
There until it closes around 2 a.m. And she leaves from there.
Now, a big thing to note here is the bar's manager. We think that Jody had maybe a crush on her, and you can confirm this because she told you. So maybe that was the reason why Steve didn't want her to go.
I know. I wonder about that.
Kind of
maybe
seems that way.
Maybe he knew about a little fling or something going on there. Maybe that could definitely be something to be upset about, because that's what I'm trying to wrap my head around is why, what was he really upset about with her, and why what would make her do these things that follow that was so out of character for her too. And so clearly it must have been upsetting enough that she kind of just was like, I'm just going to go to the tavern and drink or whatever and try to forget about
normal for her. Yeah.
And kind of forget about everything or escape this situation.
But it didn't seem like she really had any plans for where she was going to go after, what she was going to do.
Odd.
It does seem odd.
Because she'd have places to go, right?
Oh yeah. And she was very,
she's a planner.
It to an old lady. I mean, she just would have her.
She's got anxiety.
She very bad anxiety. I was terrified. I mean, she would have Steve come walk her into the house if it was dark, or she was afraid she was going to get shot in Baltimore. I mean, that's what she would tell us. She was scared. I mean, she was always afraid. She was afraid of her closet. Just had these crazy fears. And when the bar closed, she was asked to bring the janitor home, who was mentally challenged in some way. He didn't speak very well. And not that she wouldn't have done that, but it was just odd that late at night for her to drive something. She would have been scared to do that. I mean, to do that. And then...
And so to not even know what she's going to be doing after. It seems like she should be spending time at that point figuring out her own plans versus taking someone else home. Very weird.
Oh, yeah. And then to go get the 6-pack of beer, which makes you wonder, was she going to meet somebody?
So, and then there's the ATM thing, which you tell me we're not for sure we can verify that. They think, is that what police say though, that she went to the ATM to get cash? Or
I don't know where that came from. Honestly, I don't feel like she did. I don't feel like she did go to the ATM.
Okay. Is that just because, is it a rumor or is it in the, well, you don't have the police report, huh? They won't give her the case file.
Right. So that she's in that
I wonder what that's from.
Because if she did go to the ATM, then there would be record of that. There'd be a transaction on her account for withdrawing money at that, with timestamp at that.
And they've never presented you with anything like that. Of course not.
No.
So maybe she went to the ATM, maybe she didn't. We don't know that part, but we do know she went and got a 6-pack of beer from that liquor store and then parked at the Drum Castle Government Center. And she was making phone calls, and you said some of the phone calls were to the bar?
Back to the bar, yes.
Do you think she was calling the owner?
That's what I've heard different things from the police. She was calling the owner. She was looking for drugs. She was... Maybe I feel like they were looking for a party. There was a couple. I feel like she called there twice or talked to 2 different people there.
I wonder. I'm really curious about this owner, because this is complete speculation. But I wonder if there was any point where she thought maybe she would he offered to let her crash at his place, like he heard what she was going through, and maybe that's why she wasn't worried about where she was going to go at the end of the night, because she was going to
she'd
go
have
stay at his place, and she
him.
just got to wait till he's closed down and everything. It's like, go take the janitor dude home, and then we'll meet up,
grab some beer,
and then she was calling him.
That
possible
makes sense. Yeah, definitely.
Because then she would have been. So she went to this government center to use the payphone there. Was that why?
No, she had this bag phone that my parents had got her back in the 90s.
Yeah,
that's crazy. A bag phone. I've never heard of that.
Like it's just a big
set.
Phone.
Yeah.
Wow. That she had in her car. That my parents were worried about her being out, and they wanted her to have that. So that's what she made the calls to.
I wonder if there was records from that phone or not.
Well, I mean, that's with the police, what they've done. I mean, who knows? I mean,
probably not.
She has no idea what they have or don't.
Well, I know they haven't done a lot. So, I mean,
because it'd be interesting to look at the records and find out who she called exactly, because that could be huge clue to what happens next.
Yeah, you'd think that'd just be a given.
Yeah.
So while she's sitting in this parking lot, which is so out of character, it's late at night, she's by herself. A man approaches the car, the driver's side window. And the thing is that Jody rolls down the window, which is crucial information because that tells us that she probably knew who he was.
Or was expecting somebody to come meet with her. Because I mean, anybody that goes to a parking lot somewhere by themselves at 3 a.m., doesn't matter if it's a guy, girl, I feel like would second guess just rolling their window down for some stranger.
Oh, there's no way I would.
From a car that just pulls up. I'd be very concerned if it wasn't somebody I knew.
Oh no, this was around 3 a.m. Yeah, this was really late by this point. There's no way she would have rolled that down unless she knew who he was.
Being so afraid.
Yeah.
Never.
It doesn't make any sense.
And let's just be real. Who's rolling around at 3 a.m. in the dark? Probably
just driving around.
Looking for someone to help them with something. I mean, typically it's, the seedier people that come out that late at night.
Definitely.
And, that criminal activity.
And it was snowing that night. So people aren't just out driving
just
around.
Cruising around. Oh, I need to, I can't find the gas station. Can you help me?
Yeah. And if it's some creepy guy that's coming up to you at night, most women aren't going to, roll the window down. They're just going to drive off.
Yeah.
So it makes you think maybe she knew him.
Yeah. And if people are driving around, maybe they're leaving work or they work somewhere late at night or something, but not just like you said, some random person driving.
Right. What's the chances?
And she was afraid of the snow, driving in the snow. So for her to be out driving then too, I mean, it's just another thing that didn't make sense. So then the
question is, why is she there? Then who is this man that is coming up to her car? I guess they speak for a few minutes and then he returns to the car.
His car.
Yeah.
Because he pulls up in his own car.
Yes. And the shot, they said there was some sort of conversation. So there's a gas station that's parallel to where they are in this drum castle, which was called the Caldor. There was a big department store there. Now it's called the Drum Castle Center. So there's people, this is what's so odd, is there's the gas station there that's open. And then directly across York Road is the Boston Market where the workers were, and then the giant grocery store, which was open. So it's, even though it was late at night, there was still people around. Mm-hmm. And so witnesses saw
quite a few witnesses.
Six. They said a total of 6 witnesses that he shot her from behind, and the bullet went in the back of the car.
Yeah, when you look at the picture of it, the bullet hole is actually in the back of the seat, towards the top of it, in between the headrest and the actual body of the seat itself, which I thought was very weird. It's very bizarre place to, shoot anybody, especially if you're planning to do this in the first place. And why would you do it like that? It's just it's really bizarre. And I guess we don't know exactly at what point it happened exactly, that the actual shot was fired.
To kind of paint a picture for you guys, the back window was, shot out. So someone shot through that window, and then the bullet went through the seat and severed her spine. So that shot doesn't seem like something that someone, it doesn't seem like, I guess, a kill shot, you could say. To me, it seems like someone was trying to scare her, or was angry with her, or maybe wanted to injure her and shot at that back window. And then it just happened to be an extremely fatal shot. But it seems like if you wanted to shoot her, you would just go up to the window.
Right.
The window was open too, right? It was rolled down.
Rob her, do something.
Right. Rob her. None of that makes sense. And then, so he shot her.
Like, if he was going to rob her, why didn't he do it right away? While he was talking to her, put the gun up to her, why did he go and then shoot her? It just, none of it makes sense.
It doesn't make
any sense.
Right. Like, why would he go back to his, it seems like he went back to his car to get his gun, maybe, or I don't know. It's very weird. Or if he had it on him, he was walking back to his car and then he turned around and shot. It's very weird. And I don't know. Maybe she said something that he didn't like, or he got upset. I don't know. What's your thoughts around what transpired there? Like,
I've gone through it a million times in my head. It's crazy.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, because I think, well, we were talking about theories earlier. I think, well, was it if it's a robbery, but then that doesn't make sense. It is, a lot of people said, was it a hit? Was it, some random thing? Was somebody trying to come up and rape her? Was somebody but then what is this person doing? But then her window's down, so she had to have known him. It just
doesn't make sense. The motive isn't really clear.
Yes. For just to be a random thing, that doesn't make sense either. I know it's Baltimore and random things happen like that, but it's just, I think the different things, like I said, with the window being down and that wouldn't be random. Yeah.
It almost seems like she was there waiting for someone. Like, why was she in this specific spot and making calls? And then what's interesting is after she was shot, which is really confusing because it said, they say her spinal cord was severed. She was able to drive across the street to another parking lot before she eventually passed.
It wasn't a straight shot out of the lot. She had to finagle out of there. And then there's 5 lanes, I think, York Road into the next 4 or 5 lanes into the next shopping center. And he follows her into the parking lot and stops at the entrance of the parking lot while she circles the lot and then hits the curb.
Trying to get away from him, clearly.
Yeah, and hits the curb. But I think that's probably when she died. So with the people at the Boston Market and the 24-Hour Giant, he approaches her vehicle and they say they saw him reach in and turn her headlights off and put her car in park. So he reaches in and over her body and then takes items out of her car. The police would say he took items, but we don't know what he took.
Don't know what it is.
Yeah, but her purse was gone and the phone was gone.
Okay.
But why wouldn't he have taken that if he wanted that earlier? Right? It
seems like a weird way.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe he was thinking, well, so the scenario that I keep running through my head is that this was potentially a robbery gone wrong, potentially where he went up and maybe was like, give me your stuff. And she said no. And then he went back, or he just thought he was going to scare her or something. And then he shoots into the car, which, I mean, to me, anytime you're aiming a weapon at somebody, you're intending to shoot them. Mm-hmm. So to me, there's intention to shoot her because he's aiming it towards her. You could just fire a round in the air to scare somebody that you have a weapon, but instead he, fires at her, and then I think maybe she takes off because she's like, oh my God, fight or flight kicks in, and she drives off.
Gotta get away.
Which is insane because you would think that it would that shot would paralyze her almost immediately. So she takes off, and then the reason he follows is because he's worried that, he may or may not have had a mask. I mean, we don't know what we don't know what he looked like, other than he was a African American.
Yeah, he definitely didn't have a mask. They said,
So she potentially, if she survived that, could have identified who it was.
Right. That's true.
And that he wanted to make sure that he wasn't going to be identified. So that's why he followed her to the parking lot to ensure that that wouldn't happen.
That's a really good point.
And that's just what comes to my mind. But
so the suspect was described from the witnesses as an African-American man who is 5'10" to 6'1", weighing 200 to 220 pounds, described as wearing a green fatigue style coat. He would now be in his 50s. The crazy thing about this, though, is they never made a composite sketch when they have quite a bit of information and multiple witnesses. I mean, they could have pulled more information too. Like, well, did he have a beard? Did he have this? What did you notice about, what was he wearing? What was his hat like? It didn't seem like they asked the witnesses anything.
And the picture of the vehicle out,
right,
which they didn't do until 20 years later. Which is, that BMW,
it's such a slap in the face to you, really.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how angry you feel about that. I would just be so furious.
Daily.
Yeah.
It's such a basic step that was missed.
Yeah.
And
damn, where did this agency get their training?
Yeah. And then they gave, which, I didn't know any of this stuff for years, but they gave, that stuff that should have been done, like they gave the car back to my parents early on, but my parents didn't want the car because it was just too upsetting. So they just gave it back to the dealership, but they gave it back to my parents really early on with the fingerprinting kit in the car. So they were just sloppy from the beginning.
Always kept that as evidence because, now DNA is completely different than it was back then. How ridiculous.
Incredible. So many things that they missed.
Because if he actually went into her car, there's probably most likely some trace of DNA in there that they could pull off.
Which they do say they have two fingerprints, right? Two sets of fingerprints from the car hood or the car body.
Outside,
but it hasn't been matched to anybody.
And I don't know how often.
Sorry. I was just gonna say this really reminds me of the Jody Husentrute case.
I know,
same type of thing. She was
very similar
in her car, and then the police only kept her car for like maybe a month.
Yeah, and they got rid of the car.
And then they got rid of the car, and they found a handprint, but never really did anything with it, never tried to get more information, just kind of gave the car back to the family. I think that is so bizarre when the car is basically the crime scene, right?
Yeah, right? Giving the crime scene away. Yeah. If someone is killed in a car, that car should always remain with the police until it's solved, period.
And it's not like Baltimore County. Baltimore City has so many more murders. It's not like Baltimore County couldn't have handled that. This was very...
This probably happens all the time.
Well, not in Baltimore County. Like, it's not like they couldn't have handled keeping the car. You know what I mean? It's like, because in the city, there's so many more murders, but in the county, this was just shocking where it happened.
Yeah. So going back to that night, I just had some other thoughts around that. So it looks like it was 3:41 a.m. when the employees at this 24-hour grocery store actually call 911 because they report hearing the shots that were fired.
So I think it was somebody from the gas station. I think it was one of the witnesses that, I don't know if that makes a difference, but somebody, I believe, called 911 from the gas station.
Okay.
Yes.
So she drives into what I imagine being probably a somewhat lit parking lot because this is a 24-hour store, and just gas stations in general, they have pretty good lighting. So the fact that no composite was created is just absolutely insane to me because you would think that the police, what do we know about the police when they got to the scene? So police arrive, what do they do?
And especially if they had the composite with the description of the vehicle and the picture of the vehicle. I mean, that seems like that would have helped early on.
Yeah.
I mean,
they do that kind of thing for Amber Alerts and everything else. Right, it's like, definitely. And that works so well because people are immediately alerted and they start looking.
Oh, yeah.
Just the white BMW. I mean, if you start alerting people, or other officers even, because, that's the main thing is like, you get the information from the witnesses that there was an African-American man in this description. He was in this white BMW. He fled the scene. That information should have got blasted out to every officer in Baltimore County immediately.
I know.
And chances are you might have been able to, someone might have grabbed that guy.
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely could have been done if it was handled better.
So clearly there was a breakdown at the scene about, I think sometimes what happens is what I've also learned from my experience is that a lot of times the officers that are working those graveyard shifts are the younger officers. A lot of times they put the younger... They put the young guys out on graveyard, but the problem with that is that you may get a really, really green police officer showing up to a scene like that, and they may not know how to really process that scene. It might be the first murder that they've ever been to, and that could cause them to just
mistakes.
Yeah, they might know what's going on. They might not ask the right questions. So there's a lot of things that can go wrong there to kind of lead to nothing really happening, and that's no excuse whatsoever. Obviously, there should be somebody there that responds to that. Right. I'm sure multiple officers show up to this call. Probably the supervisor shows up. So the fact that they didn't think to immediately start a search for this individual with the white BMW is just absolutely absurd.
Oh yeah. Definitely. And then, I had another thought, but I just lost it. I can't remember. Oh, they said the cameras were down in the parking lot.
Yeah, that was the other thing.
Where she ended up. Like how...
This giant grocery store doesn't
bizarre. They have video from they said that they have video from the York Road and one from the Caldor lot, which is real blurry and grainy.
I just don't believe it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It just happened to be down that night.
It's almost every case I work on. There's a camera is broken somewhere. It's insane. I don't believe it for a second.
Literally more times than not. This happens all the time.
All the cases.
It's bizarre.
Yeah. How convenient.
Right? And sometimes it's multiple. It's like, none of them were working.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or it'll be like, oh yeah, all of them were working except for the one that had the actual person. Sorry, I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah. So stupid. Yeah.
Should be a requirement.
It's so frustrating.
It's a basic. It's not expensive. Cameras aren't expensive anymore. Like,
especially nowadays.
Businesses should be required to have a decent camera system running with, especially in areas of high crime. Like,
it seems like they normally do until the police need it, and then it's like gone or messed up. It's so weird.
It's just
it's so odd.
So many things that have just been unbelievably frustrating.
Yeah. So basically, after she's pronounced deceased at the scene, correct?
And he was in no hurry getting out of there either, from what I'm told, is that he just
hopped back in his car and just drove.
Not even hopped, was just slowly
dang.
Yeah. And
interesting.
Yeah. So that's very,
So as far as we know, no one had any plans to meet with Jody that night.
Nothing.
But it's possible that she did, but she just, someone doesn't want to say what it was because it could tie them to it.
Yes.
Or explain it.
Definitely. I think I believe that there are some answers at that Mount Washington Tavern.
People I bet you're right.
I have a feeling about that too.
But people don't want to say anything.
Which is a real shame because it's been so long now, especially that it's not like, you're going to be charged. If you're involved, know something, like coming forward now is just going to help the situation. It's not going to, make it worse necessarily. But go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was like, and the other thing is they didn't even, they didn't interview I've run into people that they didn't even interview that they should have. It's just maddening. It just goes on and on about their.
And you haven't seen the police report they took for that night? That's insane. That's crazy. They won't
show it to us.
And they dismissed it pretty much right away as something random, right?
Yeah.
Just something random occurrence, not someone personal she knew, which is super weird. Why? I think it's more likely she knew that person.
Definitely.
Is it possible that she was buying drugs for somebody? It seems like the profile kind of fits maybe like a drug dealer. Or
yeah, definitely
like
is making me think that, especially the fact that he got something out of the car or like, you know, I mean, you hear about drug dealers shooting people that don't have money for them or don't have drugs for them, whatever it is. I mean, that kind of stuff happens all the time.
Right. Was it possible? I definitely don't rule anything out, but
maybe not even for her, but just for somebody else.
She could be picking it up for someone else. Absolutely.
Yeah. But she definitely, if she was buying it, she was so afraid she wouldn't have tried to take something and run.
Yeah, or like, anger the person.
She would have been scared. Yeah,
right. She would have been definitely safe about it.
Yeah.
You know, as weird as that is to say, like, I know what you mean.
She wouldn't have. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Jody did not have any narcotics in her system at the time, which is important. Alcohol obviously was in her system. She was at the bar all night.
So they did an autopsy.
Yeah. So no cocaine or anything, even though that's what she was struggling with. So that's good to know that she wasn't using that night. It definitely gives you a little more clarity into her state of mind.
Yes.
Obviously alcohol is going to alter it, but cocaine even more so.
And I don't believe, honestly, that she had done that since high school. I mean, from what I had seen and saw, I mean, definitely she was more into the drinking.
Okay.
Is it possible that that particular night she happened to kind of be going off the deep end and maybe could have gone, you know, a lot farther than she's been in a long time or something because she's so upset or just in a really fragile state of mind where she's just like, I just want to escape this day completely for whatever reason. I mean,
because my boyfriend and I got into a fight. I'm just, I can't take anymore. I definitely could see something like that happening. But the other thing is the bar that she was at was known for drugs. So I'm thinking,
really?
Oh yeah. Like I've heard she could get it behind the bar, you know, so why would she
go to a
random parking lot? So there's just so many things like that you're like, well, she would not go drive in the dark, like searching.
Yeah.
And as far as you know, she didn't know anyone that could have fit this man's profile at all. Like, did she know anybody a friend that could be it? There's just nothing.
As far as I know. I mean, and I'm thinking about how, I mean, in my town, there's, I think one street that's like the drug street. Like my kids are like, don't drive down that street. It's like shady or whatever. But like, even I think that I'm not like afraid, but even when I'm driving down, I'm like looking around. You know what I mean? So it just makes me think about her going to like sit in, I mean, even just driving, you're like, but just to go sit in a parking lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like my head would be if I could turn 360. I mean, you know what I mean? Just to be making sure. So I don't know. It's just the more that I think about her sitting there, it just doesn't add up.
Doesn't make any sense.
No, it really doesn't. And I mean, there's so many scenarios that could have happened, you know, like you said, it could have been a failed sexual assault or something, and maybe he was angry, or, I mean, we don't know who this individual was, or, you know, who he is or what he's capable of. There's really infinite number of things that could have happened that led to him shooting her. But I really am thinking the, you know, potential drug deal gone bad, and, you know, he was trying to, I don't know. It's really weird though. Like, I wonder, we don't have her wallet. We have no idea how much money she had, or, you know, the ATM thing though. I keep coming back to that because that could really tell us a lot. Even though it seems insignificant.
He saw her go to the ATM, but why not then put the gun up to her window and be like, give me your cash? Like if he had just seen her go to the ATM.
Yeah. Well, because there's more cameras around ATMs.
But like she hadn't moved. She was just sitting where she was.
Right.
Yeah.
Like when she left from it.
But even up to when she was sitting in the car.
Like if he was coming up there to just rob her and take the money, you know, why wouldn't have that just happened and then he went on his way, you know, kind of thing.
Right.
If that's what he was there doing.
Or even just put the gun up to her head and give me the money, not cause a scene and shoot.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the reason
why
of shoot?
Why shoot?
Especially with witnesses around, you don't want to.
That's the big question is why was she shot in the first place? Why did that happen at all? If it was just a robbery or something.
It does seem like a really weird shot.
Yeah.
But then again, if you were
what are the chances that it would go through the seat, through the window?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, it's
the angle of it's bizarre. It's
just a weird
it's a
shot.
very weird way to, if you're going to murder somebody, you know, why from an angle like that? Why, you know, if you're going to want to ensure that you're going to get it done, like why would you do that? So it's, I don't know.
I've heard people say they some people don't want to shoot somebody from the front, like they don't want to see it or something. Have you heard that?
That's
they
possible.
Want to do it if it was some sort of, because a lot of people have said, I wonder if it was a hit. Sounds like a hit.
I just wonder, like, if he was really trying to injure her or kill her, why wouldn't he shoot like multiple times? Unless she left like that fast. I don't know. It's just such a weird shot, such a weird scene.
Yeah.
But police have said that they have 2 suspects that they're looking into, and they have been given polygraph tests. Have they told you who these people are? So obviously you can't talk about.
Right. But I kind of just don't believe anything they say. So
okay.
I've reached out to I've contacted. I mean,
you've talked to them yourself,
in prison and out of prison. I mean, so I've reached out to every person they've brought up. And
so how does that go when you contact them and be like, hi? I mean, how do you even introduce yourself?
I know. Well, the one person in prison, I said to the detective, because I didn't believe, like, I felt like years ago, they're like, yeah, we think it's him, but we're not going to, but you know, I guess they don't have enough or whatever. And so I'd say, well, let me go in there. I'm trying to not say as much as, I don't know what I'm allowed to say.
Right.
I'd be like, well, he's in prison. I'd say, let me go, bring me in there to talk to him.
Sure.
Like, not that I'm just like crazy person. Like, let's try something different. Whatever you're doing is not working. If you think it's him, I don't know, maybe me going in there and he sees me, it might freak him out. And maybe he'll go back and say something to like a jail. No, I don't think he's going to confess to me, but maybe he'll say something to somebody in there.
Sure.
I don't know.
It's worth a shot.
I mean, what else do I have? I mean, my brain is always like trying to come up with something, and he just looks at me like, why would he want to talk to you? So I'm like, well, fuck you. Like, I mean, she's just so cocky anyway. So then I wrote him a letter, the guy in prison, and I told him who I was, and I sent him a picture of me, and I said, can you put me on your visitors list? So he just started writing me letters, and he just like rambled about everything you could imagine. I mean, religion and what it's like in there.
Story
and all that. Like, I don't think he obviously recognized my name because he's been talked to, and I don't know. I mean, I wanted to go in there, but then he told me that he would write to me and say I have to send him my address. And I didn't, because I have to get on I have to give my license when I show up there to be on his list. So I guess you can find anybody's address on the internet. So I didn't want to give out that information, but I guess anybody could find it. And then I gave him my phone number, and then he started calling me. And so I had some conversations with him. And
oh my gosh.
I mean, it's bizarre. He was nice. I mean, I guess they can be sociopaths or whatever, but he just talked to me about, I mean, the police would tell me everything about him, but he told me about his family and his daughter, and that he had a brother, and the police didn't even know he had a brother. Like, here they are telling me that he's a suspect, but he doesn't have a brother, that they didn't even know he had a brother. Wow. They'd never interviewed him. So
what did you think of him? You thought he was nice?
Well, he was, I mean, I to say that. I mean, he was like
seemed nice to you
on the phone, and I was very, very nervous because I was like, I don't know if this person, if he did it or not, but I'm just desperate
really scary.
for answers. And so I finally asked him. I said, "Do you know my sister?" And I said Jody LeCornu, and he said, "I can't off the top of my head recall." Like, it was like a really weird roundabout way of answering. And if I know her. And when I was writing him, I'd opened a P.O. box because I didn't want to have, to put my address on there. And then my husband found out that I was communicating with him, and he went really crazy.
Got upset.
Yeah. So I kind of stopped like it all. But when I found out about his brother, I went to find his brother. And it was like an hour from my town. And I went to show up. He worked at a this bar place. He's a cook. And I went there, and I had taken my daughter to a birthday party. It was just ironic that it was in this town. There was like this jump, those jump zones. Yeah. And it was like a 2-hour thing. And I told the mom, I'm like, I got to go grocery shopping. I'm like, going to go find a killer's brother.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, I mean, so I just I went to find him, and he wasn't there. And so I left him a note, and I just said, I left, the reward poster, and I just said, do you know anything about my sister? You know, I just left the information there. I didn't leave my phone. I don't think I left my phone number. I can't remember if I did or not, but I ended up going back there. So there was nothing then I heard no more communication from the brother. So anybody. So then I just recently went back to find the brother and he came out, he was there.
Wow.
And I was very nervous. I mean, I'm not like, don't get me wrong. I'm like very nervous, like doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
And he came out and he actually came out and hugged me.
Wow.
Yeah. And he was like, I said, do you know who I am? And he said, no. And he's looking at me and I told him who I was. And then he gave me a hug and he said, I don't know. He said, I'm so sorry about your sister. I don't know anything. I don't know anything about, just saying he didn't know. I don't know.
God, that just must be so crazy for you to go through that.
Yeah. And then there's the other person that I reached out to, on Facebook, like apparently just got out of prison. And I know. And then I'm like, God, what am I doing? Like I'm just
you messaged him recently. I saw that. So did he respond to you?
He did. So I woke up the other morning and my phone's going crazy with all these, like it was just, when you wake up, you're kind of just not
fully.
Yeah. And all of a sudden I'm like, like I'm seeing these messages because it was like, it'd been like a week before I got a response.
Wow.
And just angry. Like, oh, geez. I don't know who you think I am. And then it like calmed down. And I was like, I'm just trying to get information. I'm trying to reach out to people. I said, he gave me his phone number. I said, can I talk to you? And I said, I just trying to get information from anybody. I've been reaching out to anybody. And he was just very upset. I don't know your sister. I don't know who told you this, but they should be like, it was just very like kind of violent. Like,
yeah,
I can't think of the exact
abrasive words. And just, aggressive. Yeah.
So I was really nervous. So I ended up so I'm at work and I'm like, God, I got to get a break. So I have I have this track phone. So I was like, I got to call him today. And then I called him and he said he would talk to me and he wouldn't answer. And I left him a message and told him to call me and he wouldn't talk to me. He didn't call me back. Geez,
yeah.
So I don't know. And then I'm like, what am I doing? Like, this is crazy. Like, who does this?
It could be dangerous. I mean,
I know.
Definitely worry about
and
you.
I know. And that's why I'm like, I've got to stop. Like, I get this.
I understand wanting to keep going though.
I know.
Like, I do get it.
But it's like, I'm desperate. And it's like, and then I'm like, God damn you, please. Like, like I
should be doing this.
Like, this
Absolutely
is crazy
not.
that I'm putting myself in these situations. I mean, I put myself in a lot of, I've gone up to Baltimore and met other people. I mean, it's crazy. Here I am afraid to fly on a plane and I'm like going out and talking to these crazy people,
You're doing detective work. You're investigating it yourself.
It's maddening.
Yeah.
It's maddening.
Jenny even had to make her own tip line because the police she didn't feel like they were following up completely.
No.
So they're just sitting on this. Then.
Yeah. I mean, they told me her case was in a closet years ago. And that's
so terrible. Why would you say that to someone?
Yeah. I mean, they told me.
They've been mean to you.
Oh my God. They've been horrible.
Straight up mean.
Yeah. One of the suspects, so the first one that I was talking about, so I said to the detective, I said, when are you going to, because he would say for years, I have messages of stuff he would tell me, I'm going to go do this, I'm going to go do that. And I mean, anytime I would call, like he's on vacation. I'm like, how much vacation do these cops get?
Not that much.
I don't know. I was like, he's never there. And so he looked at me with his two bosses. There was like a couple of people there. And he's like, I said, when are you going to go talk to him? This was one of our meetings. He's like, oh, well, there's a great crab cake and chicken restaurant down there by the prison. I want to try the chicken or whatever. So I'll go down there and talk to him. Like about somebody that possibly.
Gosh.
Yeah, this is like how they would talk to me.
That's terrible.
And then he was telling, like in the messages, messages early on when I would message him and ask him about this person at the bar, I'd say, do you think there was something going on with Jody and this person? And he'd say, well, he'd have you both. Like he would say these really weird.
What the hell?
Yeah.
That's,
and then, Or like, I said, well, when I reached out to him, this person, he would tell me this. He's like, well, you're a beautiful woman. He's a sleaze. He'd tell you anything. Like he was just very weird about his messages.
That's like, honestly, that's
freaky.
Unethical.
Oh, yeah. Oh, then he was telling me then he'd be like, how's your relationship with my husband? And he'd be like,
oh my God.
That's crossing the line. Yeah.
Just keep him close. He said, there was a time where I was close with a sister of a suspect who killed her parents and I was separated from my wife. So I'm like, you're basically telling me you're having an affair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you're asking me about my husband. Yeah.
My God.
And this is the one where they say this detective is amazing and he's great. And I find out, then I ask him.
He should be removed immediately.
Oh my God. Yeah, but he's been on since day one. I've gone to the governor's office to remove him. They will not remove him. The 3 families that I told you reached out to me that have had the same detective, have had the same hell. It's like there's no getting through. There's no breaking away. I mean, I was telling her these families that have reached out to me that have had the same problem with Baltimore County.
And you can't request for a new...
I have. Yeah. I went to the governor's office and they begging. Won't. Everybody looks at me in my eyes, like the county executive, the governor's office. I went to... I don't even know some of these positions of these other people. Like I was writing letters, I was doing all this stuff. I'm like, help me. And they look at me, they're like, yeah, we'll help you. And then nobody does anything.
Yeah.
It's like they don't even care.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's like the DNA testing. Like,
right.
Like when I went to the governor's office, I was like, I want a new detective. And I met with the Homeland Security Director and he said he would help me. I said, new detective. And then
the MVAC, right?
The DNA testing, which was offered for free. They were going to come, they were going to do it, they were going to test it in a private lab, offered it, everything. And they told my family it would be the last resort.
They're trying to block things.
Oh,
so this is why Jenny feels that there is some type of possible cover up in the police department, that they are hiding something, that they are working. It seems like they're stonewalling her and working against her. It's just ridiculous. And it seems pretty obvious, especially with that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah. It's just...
How long has that officer been in the department for?
I don't know. And that's the thing is they told... So then they tell me, I find out from... Because I've had other police... I mean, I've had other people reach out to me. Other police officers, retired police officers, people that have tried to help me. She died on the line. The chief of Baltimore City Police wrote me a letter, handwritten letter, saying he wants to help. He stands to assist, to help in Jody's
because
case.
She died on the line for
and
the counties.
And they told him to blow off. Yeah. Told
the jurisdiction.
Well, the city county line.
Gotcha.
And they just.
So the county doesn't want the city
involved.
They're keeping the case for themselves.
Yeah. It's like nobody can get
for them to just sit there and do nothing.
Exactly.
Cannot even express to you, like, sorry doesn't even begin to cover it. I just cannot believe this is happening to you. I can't imagine how frustrated you feel every single day, how angry you must feel.
And that's why I blast on social media. Like with the
where
county
else do you
executive.
go?
Yeah, they all, these people, they all, want their positions and they say, oh, we're for a better Baltimore County. And so because when I went to the governor's office, the Homeland Security Director's like, oh, well, and you should also reach out to the county executive. So I write letters, I email, no response. Finally, and then I get impulsive. I get on Twitter and I said, hey, Johnny O, I said, do you want a billboard?
That's how you do it.
Minutes later. Yeah. Oh, do you need my help? Responds back to me. And he's like, just email my office. And I'm like, I already emailed your office. Like, it's just, these people are so messed up.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's so many different facets to the problem, and one of it being that there's so many hands in the pot now that people say they want to help, but then in their minds they have you in front of them and they don't want to let you down or make you feel a certain way, so they just tell you what you want to hear,
right?
But in the back of their mind they know they can't do anything, because unfortunately the way that the criminal justice system works right now is that the police at even a very low level have so much authority over a case that, they can hold it, they can decide to transfer it, they can do so many things with it that, and it also comes back to, like, I assume you've gone to the DA and the DA won't do anything.
He's a jerk.
Yeah. So, and that's the other thing too, is that a lot of these district attorneys are.
You think I was the criminal. You think I was a criminal. And they told me, so one of the former police chiefs of Baltimore City, not the one that wrote the letter, another one, reached out to Baltimore County with some people that he knew and reached out to the detective's boss. And they told me that there was going to be a new detective last summer. Even his boss told me.
Wow.
They lied to me. I don't even know what to believe. I
mean, Sarah's gotten the same type of situation with the Phoenix Police Department. We've seen it so many times. They do lie. They tell you whatever they need to get you to be quiet for the time being. They'll change their mind. They'll change their story.
Yeah.
I mean, they make their own rules, and it's really disappointing that, like I was telling Jenny earlier, it makes me scared just as a citizen thinking that if someone in my family gets murdered or something happens to me, are they going to even investigate it? Are they going to use all possible resources to find my killer or my husband's killer or whoever? It's just, we should all be scared of situations like this, whether or not you're personally a victim, because we should expect so much better from our police.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, you said earlier, the Boy Scouts probably could have solved it by now. Because when you have this many witnesses, you have this much stuff and things that they just haven't done. It's pathetic. There's no reason.
My whole thing too is the fact that they hold the case hostage.
Yes, that's bullshit.
That's the biggest disservice they could possibly do to you is.
Can you do like a FOIA request?
No, because it's active and they.
Well, that's what
you
they
sued,
said.
Didn't you? Didn't you file a lawsuit against them? And
it's in the closet, but it's an open investigation.
Right. It's in a drawer somewhere, but technically it's in an open status.
How long can they get away with that?
Right.
There's no accountability.
So you can't even be like, hey, I want to bring in my outside team. If I had the resources to do that, I want to bring in my own experts, my own They won't even divulge the case information for you. So you still don't have even remotely probably close to the full extent of information that's out there about this, or
only what they tell us. All we know is what they tell us,
which is usually
at their mercy.
And what I say is people that have nothing to hide nothing.
Right.
That's a great,
isn't that
quote.
good?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's very true. So I'm sure many of you are wondering how you can help, join Team Justice for Jody. First of all, we have the tip line that Jenny has created. So these tips will go directly to Jenny. And, you can send them on to the police and everything, but you get them at least.
Right. At least I know what's going on.
Yes. So that phone number is 411-200-6284, 411-200-6284. And they are also offering a $100,000 reward, which is really big. So as well as you're doing billboards, which has that been helpful?
Helpful and getting information out and people calling. I mean, some of my latest tips have been from the seeing the billboards and just getting her story more out there. I mean, I just feel like eventually it's something's bound to come forward. Definitely keeping pressure on them. I mean, my latest one is directly at the Baltimore County Police. So, I think
that does put on the pressure.
Yeah. Like, it's like in your face on one of the main,
because it's one thing to do, a YouTube video like this and our audience is all over the world, but it's another thing to have this big sign right there, right at home, right in their corner to remind them that they haven't solved this and keep it in the county's eyes, the people's eye. Yeah, 100%. So we will be making a donation to Jody's GoFundMe. We encourage you guys to do the same. We will link it below, as well as her Twitter and all the other information that you will need if you want to, follow her fight for justice here.
Journey. It's
share it.
Yes, please share. Please share this podcast or. She's been on Crime Junkie. You were on Dr. Oz. There's plenty of things media that Jenny has done that you can share, or just share a photo of Jody and share her story. That always helps as well.
Absolutely.
I think people don't realize what a difference that you can make just on your own social media, even if you don't have a platform and stuff. I mean, that stuff really does help. And just support for the family. I think, don't you feel like having support has really helped you?
God. So much.
Good.
I mean, I had a girl write to me from India. I was at a really low point, and I mean, she just was talking about how she was so inspired by me. I mean, I literally had just woken up one morning and I was like, it's just so much happening. I've told you about the struggles with my marriage and just so much going on with
it's impacted your life
stress.
hugely.
I mean, just so much, and my own personal struggles, and and battling with the police, and I was just really feeling horrible. And I get this letter from her, and I was like, it was just the most beautiful thing. Like it was like on Instagram. It was Instagram.
Like a DM.
Yeah. And it just
it's so sweet.
And
I think that means so much, and people don't realize how much that little gesture can help. I always encourage people to reach out to the victims' families, because they need that support more than ever.
Oh my gosh, because
feeling like you're not alone.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was So it was huge. Yeah.
Well, you're amazing. We're just so honored to have you on our show.
You guys, thank you. I love you guys.
We love you too. And it was great to have you. I think this episode was definitely let us know what you guys think in the comments. We want to hear theories, opinions.
Absolutely. Yeah. And definitely check out those links that we've got down there for sure.
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
But yeah, thank you again.
Yeah, this is awesome.
It was an absolute pleasure.
I love it. I love it here. Yeah.
Awesome.
Good. You're welcome anytime.
Yes. But we'll go ahead and wrap it up there.
One day.
Yeah, definitely.
What's that?
I said hopefully we have an update one day.
Yeah,
definitely.
exactly.
That's the plan. That's
Fingers crossed. But we'll go ahead and wrap it up there today, guys. Thanks again for joining us for another episode of the Mile Higher Podcast. But until next time, stay safe
and stay woke.